So most people put the cart in front of the horse and then they wonder why everything just bottlenecks in their life. Now, I'm going to explain this in a story and a really awesome tip that has helped me a lot in my own life and also helped me with a lot of my clients as well over the years, especially those who are driven mofos. If you don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo. I'm the founder and owner of Mojo Human Performance Institute, where we focus on business, mindset, and lifestyle hacking for driven mofos. Also, the reason why I do this is because most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of those people. I want more people out there who are crushing it, who are pushing it, and also who are fulfilled in what they're doing because they love the journey more than they love the idea of getting to this destination that they think is going to make their life different, which it won't. As you're probably aware, I love working with driven people and people who want to achieve great things in their own life, whatever that may be, whether it's being a great mum, whether it's being a great dad, whether it's being great in business, whether it's being great in your career, whatever area it is, being great in health. I just love working with driven people who want more out of life. But what I see is there's this consistent pattern in our society where most people want to commit to doing greater things. Okay, I would say that that's the majority of the listeners on here. What most people don't realize is that in order to move to the next level in life, you have to pass certain tests or certain obstacles. You have to overcome them. If you don't, you go back and you repeat the grade. So this is something that I teach a lot at my events, where I'll say things like, life doesn't get any easier, and it doesn't. Life doesn't get easier if you have more money. In fact, it gets more stressful. You have more responsibilities. There is more pressure. Actually, I'm going to take that back. It doesn't get more stressful. It's the same stress the whole way along. It's just you get better at handling it and have a better understanding of it. The same thing happens with your health. Someone who has six-pack abs, a big chest, broad shoulders, their life's not easy. They don't have better genetics in most cases because they can still have those same genetics and still look like shit. It's just that they've learned things along their way that become a certain habit that allows them to excel. If we go back to school, and when we're in grade 1 at school, maybe grade 2, I can't remember what year finger painting was and all that stuff. School was a long time ago for me now. But let's say we're in grade 1. You get a whole bunch of lessons in that grade. Then at the end of the year, as you get closer to the end of the grade, the teacher says, we have a test. And you go, oh crap, this is scary. I don't know what to do. This is challenging, because now you're getting tests on all the learnings that you've had for the previous year to see if you can overcome it so that you can go to the next grade. Now, life is very much like that as well. We go through life, we learn all these lessons, a lot of them are painful lessons or stress or frustration or things don't work. Now, as we go through them, we learn more and we adapt more and we learn more about ourselves. We learn more about whatever the area is that we're trying to master or at least grow in. We keep moving in the right direction, and then all of a sudden, bang, the test comes up. Now, for most people, they freak out just like at school and they go, shit, this is hard, this is challenging. Maybe they can't sleep because they're worried about something. Now, should they implement what they've learned, they'll overcome that problem. And what will happen is they will go to the next grade and they will get gifted another problem, which is normally bigger than the previous problem. And they will have to go back through the learnings and the lessons again before they come to the next test. Now, this happens, and it doesn't matter whether you're in grade 1 or grade 12, the test is always hard. When someone says, yeah, but you don't understand, Michael, and I hear this every fucking week when I'm on the phones, whether it's doing sales calls or whether it's doing coaching calls or whether it's at my live events, but you don't understand, Michael. It's different. It's no different. It's pretty much the same shit for everybody on the planet. We go through, depending on the level that we're at, we go through a whole bunch of problems. We need to learn a whole bunch of lessons. And then at the end, we get a test. Should we pass that test, we go along for a period of time where things seem comfortable and things seem easy. Just like when we go from grade 3 at school to grade 4, it's this new and exciting year. Everything goes well. There's these new kids. It's all exciting. And then all of a sudden we start to get the pressure of learning these tests. And after a while, it starts stacking up and you go, crap, there's another test coming. You start to freak out. You start to panic. You start to get worried. And then when the test hits, it challenges you to remember everything that you've learned and implement everything that you've learned to make sure that you can pass for the next grade. If you don't, you go back and you repeat the grade. The same thing happens in life. If you think you're getting ahead with your finances, you'll get a financial test. If you fuck up that financial test, you will go back and you'll have to repeat the same lessons again to get to the same test until you pass that test, and you will not go beyond that level. If you do, you will eventually crash and burn back down to the level of what you already know in the test that you've passed. This is why cross lotto winners rarely get ahead. When most people say things like, I wish I just won the lotto. Well, here's what's going to happen. You are going to progress from grade 2 to grade 15 immediately. And there is going to be a whole bunch of lessons that you've skipped and a whole bunch of tests that you've skipped. In 99% of those cases, you are going to drop back down to grade 3 because you haven't learned what you needed to learn in order to be able to handle that amount of cash. And that's really what happens. When people go and get a whole bunch of lipo and get their stomach stapled and all this sort of shit, they haven't learned what they needed to learn in order to keep the weight off. For the majority of people, They just start stacking on weight in different areas. And I used to see this when I was a personal trainer back over a decade ago, where people would have these shitty eating habits and they would go get things like lipo, or they would go and get their stomach stapled, and it didn't change the eating pattern, which was a problem in the first place. And they'd make up excuses, they'd blame things, they'd go, yeah, but it's my genetics that are shot. It's not the fact that you eat fucking chocolate every night, a block of chocolate. It's not the fact that you're way over consuming calories. It's not the fact that you don't move enough throughout your day. It's none of those things at all. It's just genetics, because we'll put it down to that, because that's an easy excuse for most people. Now, in a small percentage of the population, maybe there is a genetic defect, but in the majority of people who are overweight, that is not the case. Now, this is the same thing that happens in life. I hear so many people say, I didn't come from a rich family and that's why I'm broke. No, you're broke because you didn't learn, and you're not learning what you need to learn in order to move forward. There are shitloads of people out there who didn't start off very financially, from a good financial start, yet they still got ahead. You have to ask yourself, what's the difference between those people versus everybody else? Now, some of you who are listening now, this is going to upset you, and I'm sorry if it has done that. That's not my intention. It's not to upset you. What it is to wake up those who are ready to learn and who look at themselves in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm not where I want to be, and I have some impact on this, and I'm going to do everything that I can in the things that I can control to be better, to grow. Now, as I mentioned at the start, most people put the cart before the horse. So what they want is they want financial stability before they get financial stability. They want the test before they get the lessons, because they want to know everything that's going to work, everything that's going to be in the test. They want this certainty of things are going to be okay. And the truth is, life doesn't give us that way. Like at school, we don't know what's in the test. We don't know. But what the teachers do is they give us a whole bunch of lessons that they assume are going to help us to pass that test. Now, should we listen? Should we learn? Should we document things? Should we be self-aware enough? We will pass those tests, providing it's important to us. If it's not important to us, then we'll probably keep failing those tests. But if something's important to us, like if you want to get ahead financially, you will need to learn a whole bunch of financial lessons. And I would say that probably the majority of the population have no idea about financial literacy because they've never learned it. And it wasn't something they learned at school. I would say that the majority of friends that I grew up with never ever learned about money, wealth creation, or financial independence. They just didn't do it. They thought that they would go to school, do 11 or 12 years of school, go to university, and they would have all the knowledge that they need for life. And that's not correct. For those of you out there who have done and gone through that path, you will know that there are massive gaps. In school, I was never taught how to be healthy. I was taught about sport, but I wasn't really taught too much about health. I wasn't really taught too much about how to even think correctly. There was little bits and pieces in there, but not a lot. So not only did I not learn about health, I didn't learn about mental performance, I didn't learn about mental health, and they're two completely different things. I didn't learn about how to consistently achieve in life. I went to school for 13 years, and I was never taught how to learn effectively. There was never a class on how to learn effectively, how to remember things effectively. I had to go and do that after school. I paid money to go and learn how to remember things. I had to go and pay money in order and invest in myself in order to learn how to do things like speed read and to improve my memory, to improve my recall, because I used to think that I was stupid and dumb because I was put into special classes and told I had learning disabilities or learning difficulties. I had to invest in those things. I was never taught that stuff. Now, most people come out of university or they go get their trade or whatever it is that they go and do after school, and then they just automatically think that, okay, well, now I should have it all figured out. But the truth is, you won't have pretty much fuck all figured out. You'll understand how the school system works. You'll understand how the university system works. You might be able to get a job because of your studies and maybe some of the skills that you've learned throughout your studies. But after that, you're on your own. And you might have to learn things like leadership, like management, like communication. All these things aren't really taught at school. You've got to learn how to look after your health. You might have to learn parenting. Now, these are things that, again, aren't taught in school in most cases. You've got to learn about nutrition. Now, even if you take a nutrition class at school, the majority of them aren't built around, I guess, you and what you're personally trying to achieve in life. So you've got to learn all of these things. But please remember, when you learn, you get a test afterwards. If you fail that test, you will repeat the lessons again until you get the same test pop up again. This is the reason why. I have a couple of my friends who date the same woman. Now, this could be the other way around as well, but most of my close mates are male. So they date the same women with different names and different haircuts, and they think that every relationship is different, yet they always end up the same way. But very rarely do they reflect and go, hang on, there's a problem, and I seem to be in that problem somewhere, so I probably am the problem. I probably need to learn some stuff here. I probably need to learn something about relationship dynamics. I probably need to learn more about what I want in life. I probably need to learn to deal with my insecurities, because the truth is that no one wants to get into a relationship with someone who is insecure. That is not a good relationship. You don't get in a relationship to get love. You get in a relationship in order to give the love that you have. Now, most people stuff this up because that's not what we're taught, right? We're taught we get into a relationship so that we can can find love. You should never find love in a relationship. You should already have love, and so you have something to give. If you go into any relationship, including friendships, only to get something from that relationship, you're setting up that relationship on pretty poor foundations. Everybody out there knows if you want to build good friendships, the key is to give and make sure that there is a fair and equitable value exchange over time, which then will make that friendship last. The same thing happens in an intimate relationship. These are the things that we're not taught. So again, you will get lessons and you'll get tests. Should you pass the test, you'll move forward into another challenge and another problem, which you will need to learn and grow, and then you'll get a test again. And this will keep happening throughout your life. If you're growing a business, the problems that you have trying to make your first $100,000 a year in business are completely different to the challenges that you have in $1 million business. So you've got to learn more. There are bigger challenges in a $5 or a $10 million business. There are different challenges and different problems, but those money stresses are still there. They're still the same thing. My clients are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Their stress is exactly the same as mine. Exactly the same. Every now and again when I have financial stress or financial pressure because something happens, like COVID happens and we can't run events, and I sit there for a couple of nights and I'm thinking, shit, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? That's exactly the same pattern of behavior that they go through when they don't know how they're going to come up with their next $100 million in order to finish off a property development or in order to buy out another company. It's the same stress. Okay, it's the same stress response. Their body reacts the same hormonally. Their brain reacts the same mentally. The same thing happens. Neurochemically, it's the same. So these patterns of behavior are very, very, very predictable, right? Now, most people think they're so unique that all their problems and patterns of behavior are so different, but the truth is they're not. Now, going back to my original point was most people putting the cart before the horse. So they want the test before they've even had the lesson because they want to be certain that everything's going to be okay. And the reason why this came up was because I was talking to someone only about a week and a half ago, and they wanted to come and do our events. And they said, look, I need to get my shit together mentally and emotionally. I'm not where I want to be. I've got a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure. They were a high-level CEO of a rather mid-sized company. I won't say it's a large company. We're not talking thousands of employees, but we're talking hundreds. So fairly substantial. And just before he's about to commit, bang, challenges happen in his family dynamic and in his friendship circle. I won't get too much into it because I respect the privacy of my clients as well. Sometimes I'll talk about them if they're open with it, but other times I know there are some people who just like to remain private and things like that, so I'll keep it private. So he has this thing come up. We have a chat over the phone. He says, you know, Michael, it's just not the right time. Now that's putting the cart before the horse. It's just not the right time. It's never the right time because the problem isn't the time. The problem is your decision-making strategy. And for most people, their decision-making strategy is poor. That's why they don't have the money. For me personally, and this is for anyone who has a business or who does sales or who even coaches, the solution is normally the problem and the problem is also the solution. So when someone says, I don't have money, that's the problem, but it's also the solution. The solution is that they need to find the answer to why they don't consistently have money. And they need to learn things in order to overcome that obstacle. And so the problem is also the reason why they need to do it. So when someone says, I don't have the money, that's the fucking reason why they need to learn more about money. They need to learn more about their mindset. They need to learn more about themselves because they have a pattern of behavior that is not working for them. When someone says, you know, and I used to have this as a personal trainer, and as I mentioned, that was like over a decade ago. I would have people who go, you know, Michael, I was going to come to the gym like 5 years ago, but I wanted to get fit first. I wanted to get fit before I came to the gym. Do you know how stupid that sounds? I want to figure out how to make money before I go and figure out how to make money. I want to lower my stress levels before I figure out how to lower my stress levels. That just sounds so stupid, but this is exactly how most people act and behave. Most people start businesses with no idea how to run a business. None whatsoever. They've done no study, no training. They haven't read a book. All they did was they were just good at a skill set. Let's say they're a plumber. They are good with their craft and they go, well, my boss is making more money, therefore I'm going to go start my own business. So they jump out, they start their own business and they go, shit, I don't know sales. I don't know marketing. I don't know branding. I don't know leadership. I don't know how to deal with challenging clients. I don't know anything about legal. All of these things come up, which is why the boss gets paid more because they've had to develop all those skill sets in order to make that business work. They're not getting paid more for the sake of getting paid more. And this is the stupidity of most people is they think, well, someone else gets paid more than me. Therefore, they must just have the same skill sets and I'm not getting paid enough. So therefore, I'm just going to go start a business. That is so stupid. They get paid more for a very specific reason because they have gone through the depths of hell and stared the fucking devil in the face consistently at nighttime before they go to bed with their own thoughts and their inner demons because they've had to figure out how to make the business work. And this is what most people don't want to do. Most people want everything to be comfortable. They want everything to be safe, but at the same time, they want to achieve great things. Those two things are very rarely correlated. Normally, you go through the absolute ringer, you get absolutely tortured both mentally and potentially physically, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Like if you're running a marathon, that is physical torture. I would love to run a marathon, but at the same time, that's something that I just can't commit to be able to do that because it's such a challenge. And so this is the reason also why I talk people out of starting a business, because it's a very stupid idea. Starting a business is the dumbest thing that most people do, hence why the majority of them don't work. But if you love business and you're committed to it for the rest of your life, go for it, because you will learn the lessons that you need to learn along the journey. The point is, you can tell I'm pretty intense about this because it's just a pattern of behavior that most people have, and it's so bad and it's so stupid and it keeps them stuck. And I just don't want you to be one of those people. Please understand that if you want to achieve great things, there is always a lesson or a bunch of them, and then you'll get tested. If you fail the test, you'll repeat the grade. This is a consistent, and all that happens is you just go from grade 1 test to grade 2 test to grade 3 test. It's not until you're at grade 12 and you drop back down and a grade 3 test comes up and you just solve it off the top of your head that you realize how far you've come. Now, for all business owners I know, they go, shit, business is hard, finances are hard, there's all these struggles in my business, there are staffing problems and all that. That's at the level that they're playing at. So if you've got 150 staff, that stress of management of 150 staff is different than the stress of 3. Feels the same, but it's not until you go from talking to someone who has 3 staff in their business who is stuck at this level where you just go, here's the answer to that problem because you've already solved it, that you realize how far you've come. But at the time, it just feels like it's a never-ending stress that never goes away. When you accept that that's how it feels, that that's the game of greatness, then you just keep getting on with life, you just keep learning, keep growing, keep overcoming obstacles, and you just go to another level and it'll be exactly the same feeling, it'll be exactly the same again. That's why you've got to love the game, not the outcome. If you are addicted to the outcome, you'll probably be depressed as shit and hate your life, which is how most people live. Anyway, I hope that helps. This is also why you've got to commit and decide to do what you need to do, because like the majority of people I speak to on the phone every week, they're waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect time, but that's the reason why they don't get what they want, is because they're always waiting, and their strategy is to just wait for the perfect time, and the perfect time never comes, which means they just keep writing off the years, and year after year they're miserable. When their birthday comes around, they feel like shit, they beat themselves up. New Year's comes around, they beat themselves up, I still haven't achieved what I want, and this is just a consistent pattern of the masses, and that's because they're not getting out there and making the decisions that they need to make to move forward. What I'll say to people is that it'll never be the right time to do what you need to do. That's why you've got to just pick the time and make the decision, because that's the thing that'll move you forward. When people say I don't have the money, that's the exact same reason why they probably need to do what they need to do. When someone says I'm not fit enough, that's probably the reason why they need to do what they need to do. So I hope that helps. I hope that's valuable to everyone, because I just see it's such a disgusting pattern that most people have and will keep them trapped for life. Anyway, I'm Michael Mojo. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share, as most people waste their life and I just don't want you to be one of them. Never underestimate the dream. Anyway, keep crushing it, driven mofos. Anyway, I'll see you next time.